Well, welcome everybody to the second week of our August online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center here in Powell River, BC. And this month, we're talking about finding meaning and purpose in the workplace. We just finished sponsoring this big honkin' international conference, bringing some of the best thinkers in the world together to talk about how do you find meaning and purpose in the workplace. And this is important for recovery, very important, because one of the things that we've discovered about a lot of the fellows here, and even some of our alumni, that they're working at jobs that really don't provide a real sense of meaning and purpose. Sometimes it's for a paycheck. Well, we'll just hang in there because I want to buy a new car. Sometimes it's, I like the job because it's all exciting and it's adrenaline rush, but nothing really substantial, right? And this week, there's this really common theme that we keep hearing with the fellows here. Maybe it was true of you when you were a client here. And it's about what the job means to someone with an addiction. I don't know if you ever notice while you're sitting in group listening to the life stories, or if you're under the old program, just talking to the fellows. One of the more remarkable things is the emphasis that the clients put on the job. And it's really quite remarkable. Like the job, I've heard life stories that were actually about work. That was it. As if work were the only thing in the person's life. And that's a very dangerous way of living a good life, right? Because there's no balance to it. Everything's focused on work. But if you think about it, it actually makes sense. Most of the fellows here, for example, have conflict in their family. Right, the family's always getting on their case because they're drinking or using drugs or something, right? So very often the home life is not particularly comfortable, and it can in fact be dangerous. You know, if you got to sneak out in the garage to have a drink, and God help you, like if one of the family members opens the door right when you're in the middle of it, right? So it can even become a dangerous place, right? But work, there's something about work that's got this tremendous appeal to the fellows. And most of the fellows, even if they've been loaded, right, they go to work every day. So what is it about work for someone in active addiction that makes it so important? And one of the things that it seems to be, and maybe the most important thing, is that if your life pretty much sucks in different areas, like your social life, your family life, if you're struggling in things, a lot of fellows have even given up stuff they like hobbies. You know, maybe they used to love playing guitar, but they've given it up, or playing volleyball with a local crowd, but the drugs got in the way, so they've given that up. And if your life isn't really banging on all cylinders in different parts of your life, you're probably going to start focusing on the one area that you might get pats on the back for. Like, how many times did you hear yourself even, but certainly for other people, we hear it all the time in the family program. It's like, oh my God, he's so talented, he's such a good worker, as long as he's sober. But when he gets loaded, right, he calls in sick for work on Mondays, and it drives me crazy. But when he's here, man, he's the best worker I have. Right? And the family members saying he's so much talent, so much ability, and such a waste, right? These are very common things because a lot of the fellows here, and just remember to the fellows you hung out with while you were here, are extremely talented. Right? They're very competent people. They are able to get things done. They're able to be creative, right? And so at work, generally speaking, they'll get a pat on the back and make you feel good, right? So it makes sense. So why wouldn't you pay attention to a place where you're getting a pat on the back versus in another part of your life where people may be on your case? So a lot of or even at work, if you're in charge or you're the boss or you own the company or something, you have now the control to manipulate your day so that you're not running into this constant problem of people getting on your back, right? Maybe if you're the foreman, you can invent a reason to go into town to get something, so now you're alone in your truck. Or Maybe if you own the company, you can, take a week off because, I don't know, you're on a business trip, right? So you have all this control. So a lot of the fellows, because they're getting the pats on the back and because of a lot of times they have the ability to control the drug use without worrying too much about outside influences, actually start focusing on work. So it makes perfect sense. Go home, get nagged, go to work, not bad. For some people, go home, I'm alone, no one else is around, I'm getting kind of bored and lonely. Go to work, at least there are people there, people to interact with, right? So it's a real blessing of work. And for a lot of the fellas here, as I mentioned, work almost becomes their identity. Right? This is the key piece. I am what I do for work because it gives me a sense of who I am. And very often I ask the guys, well, what happens if, for example, like Christopher Reeve, the actor, all of a sudden you broke your back and now you're quadriplegic, you can't go to work. Now what are you going to do? Who are you? What's your place in the world, right? And for the vast majority of clients, that just throws them for a loop. Well, I'm nothing. I'll just off myself, right? Because I'm nothing. So this is another danger of the work. If it becomes who you are as a human being, as opposed to just being part of your life. And one of the things that we know from happy people is that they're not overwhelmed by work as stamping them with who they are as a person. Work is one part of their life, but they're also aware that they need to love and to be loved. They are aware that they have friends, that they live in a community. They're aware that having fun and taking some time off work is very important. They have all of these things going on in their life, not just work. But one thing, as I mentioned, typical of addiction is that this enormous focus on work almost as a source of identity. And so it becomes a very unhealthy dynamic. And very often this is a crushing blow if people get fired from work. Or on the other hand, some people like to get fired because it's a throwaway job anyways. So it just allows them to do extra time to go get loaded. Anyway, that's week 2. This concept that if work has become your identity, maybe you're in trouble, and it's much better to recognize you're sort of a human being first and a person who works second. That doesn't mean that the work can't be important, that you can't put in long hours. It just means that it's not so overwhelming. It actually takes control of who you are as a person. At any rate, that's week 2, and we'll see you next week with week 3 of the topic.